Today in the crypto space, we see the market still kind of going sideways. Bitcoin recovery, definitely recovering from the previous dip, back to about 41,000. Ethereum right above that $2,000 level, and a lot of the altcoins right now are deep in the green. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one layer one that is looking pretty hot. And of course, that project is called Avalanche. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate that strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. And of course, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is a great community. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. What is going on here with this market? Bitcoin, got a little bit of a recovery. I expected a little bit of relief. Yesterday's video was about Bitcoin because I anticipated that a lot of people would be, a bit fearful of the dip, but ultimately we're getting a bit of a bounce. Ultimately, it could be a dead cat bounce. It could be a scenario where we continue coming down eventually. But ultimately, I'm expecting Bitcoin to show us a bit of structure in the short term. We had some good news coming out of the CPI data, given the fact that it's holding steady. That's a good thing. Obviously, the markets could definitely take full advantage of that stability. We have BNB looking strong, up 6.5%. And we have many of the altcoins like Cardano and even Avalanche up today with that recovery. So we can see a lot of the altcoins, the layer ones, especially the blue chip, large cap altcoins, definitely looking good. While Bitcoin kind of hangs out there and potentially goes sideways in the next little while. So as we go through this market, of course, first we're going to look through the market, then we'll take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator, and then we'll talk about AVAX in particular. We'll look at the charts, see if we can find any opportunities. But ultimately, I'm looking at right now as a good time to potentially look into the larger cap altcoins. I know the market could be a bit frothy right now. We do see Bitcoin, it's severely in the green. We see a lot of the micro caps already moved a little bit, and a lot of the layer ones, in my opinion, haven't really moved that much. So the reality is, start looking for entries in layer ones. Although they're less volatile, they're probably the best bet right now, given the fact there's a bit of uncertainty for a correction. And especially if you can get in at a good risk to reward ratio opportunity, you can put a nice stop loss underneath those larger caps. Those larger caps are going to hold a bit more stable. And yes, there's not going to be much gains, but at least you have some exposure to a bit of green if we decide to continue to the upside. However, if we decide to roll over and the market decides to get into its corrective stance, at least you can rest assured that these larger caps won't come down as hard as the micro caps. So just be very careful and understand that diversifying your portfolio is a very viable option to reduce risk, to mitigate that risk. We have Atom up significantly today, 21% to the upside. We have a few other good gainers like Aptos, 15%, Injective, 16%. VeChain is up, finally waking up, 12% to the upside. And we have Celestia doing another 23%. Good stuff throughout the market. Definitely Render waking up, breaking out of previous highs. So nonetheless, while Bitcoin continues to kind of show us a sideways potential consolidation, we have some altcoins definitely taking full advantages of this opportunity. We have KuCoin showing us still that the market is looking to get into trading, especially KuCoin, given the fact that it has a lot of those lower cap altcoins that we're looking for. That shows us the market is looking for alts. The market is interested in alts. And if we continue going down, we have some good gainers. Ordi still doing pretty good. Beam is doing well today, up 14%, and still making those higher highs and higher lows ultimately. So the trend is still intact. That's what I mentioned yesterday, guys. At the end of the day, seeing Bitcoin come down and still within structure doesn't give me any indication that we have to get absolutely bearish here. We have Osmo looking good, 27% to the upside. And as the list continues, we can see that generally speaking, the market is either green or at least sideways today. So that's good. The market definitely recovered. The market definitely got back to where it was yesterday, pretty much overall. And ultimately, we can maintain, our bullish stance and start looking for entries. But again, guys, as we get indications that the market is frothy, it's important that we use risk management. It's important that we understand that we need to put stop losses. We need to trail up our stop losses to protect any potential gains that we have in the near future. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin yesterday got that dip, it came down, and we can see that we are holding support. In fact, we did get a bit of a bounce in the short term. This is the daily time frame, and of course it takes some time to actually see the daily play out, but we are currently getting a bit of support here as we speak. Now you can see that the EMA crosses and the RSI, the momentum oscillators, are not looking the greatest, but if you get into short-term time frames, it's very likely that we see a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a relief to the upside. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. The daily right now, obviously, look at the MACD. EMA's crossing right histogram bars to the downside, of course, and we're not getting more continuation down, so that's okay for now. And we see that the RSI is definitely coming down and reaching those previous lows. Now the question is, do we actually come back up and get another impulsive move with momentum? And that would potentially give us another higher high and continue the divergence, the class A bearish divergence, or even a double top for that matter, giving us a class B or something like that. Right now I'm expecting the daily, ultimately to get a bit of a reaction in the chop zone is where the RSI meets that 50% mark, right? And the MACD, unfortunately, is a lagging indicator at the current moment, showing us a bit of bearishness that could be around the corner. So let's anticipate and prepare for that. But if you get into lower time frames, we already got into oversold conditions, and I feel like the market right now is trying to show us some divergence, an opportunity for us to get in at a pivot point here at range lows, which means that we could be eventually making a lower low while the momentum makes a higher low. That's class A bullish divergence at a decent level of support, a decent level where I expect a little bit of a reaction. And that's ultimately what I'm looking for, is Bitcoin showing us a bit of a signal here that there may be a bigger relief move to the upside. So again, let's look at price action. Let's kind of see what's going on here. Even if we do come down and make a lower low, another lower low here, while the momentum here on the 4 hour makes a higher low on the RSI, that just basically gives us class A bullish divergence at oversold conditions on the 4 hour, and ultimately a decent level horizontal support. Okay, so this is where things start to look okay, and potentially building a position right into this level, a short-term position, a quick position, nothing massive, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of the market right now is very hesitant, even getting into fresh long. So if you're going to go long, it's got to be lower time frames type of thing, and then be quick to get out. It's not a long-term hold at the current moment, because I do think that Bitcoin is way overextended over its it's just really hot right now. It's very frothy. So if we continue going, you can see that the MACD is definitely facing down still. No EMA cross to the upside. No green histogram bars just yet. So we do have some time to actually get that going. And if you keep on going into lower time frames, like even on the 1 hour, you can see that essentially it did get overbought even on the oversold on the 1 hour, which means that it's very possible that we see a class C bullish divergence right now, and then ultimately a bit of a class B with these two bottoms, or even a class A bearish bullish divergence. So overall, it's starting to look really good on lower time frames for a potential bounce. Now, I don't like the fact that the tops are rounded like this. This insinuates that these are all like dead cat bounces and M patterns and potentially breaking down. But as long as we stay with this stance, with the divergences, our good levels of horizontal support above this $40,000 mark, I remain positive. I remain positive in the fact that this thing could get a nice little bounce to the upside and give us some nice momentum upwards. Okay, so that's my take on Bitcoin. Let's keep it simple. In the near future, I expect some more volatility, but I also don't expect the daily to come down with one red candle without giving us an opportunity to consolidate. All right, guys, today's video is all about AVAX. Avalanche. Let's take a look at what's happening there. Obviously, Avalanche has been on fire. A lot of good bullish sentiment on AVAX. And you guys know here on the channel, I've been rooting for all the layer ones. This is where I've been calling, buy the dip opportunities. We had a great class A bullish divergence right here at horizontal support. This was the last line in the sand where I was saying, guys, it's time to take the chance. This is where you take risk, okay? Ultimately, we could have fell through the volume gap, and you can see it was nice and clear. Could have fell through the volume gap and then got into another DCA opportunity, but didn't happen, okay? So we got a nice class A bullish divergence, and I made that very, very clear here on the chart. So let's make this back to a smaller one, and you can see that here was the breakout zone. This is what I was looking for, and the point of controls definitely build right on this area. And finally, we broke out and we're hitting targets. You can see how we reacted right here pretty perfectly. It was a decent take profit zone because you never know, we could have got rejected at the previous highs, right? So de-risking at that level was absolutely acceptable, even though it continued to the upside. Yes, taking profits at that stage, you know, would have been a bit premature, but ultimately no one has ever gone broke taking profits. So it's definitely a decent place. And then we start breaking through volume gaps. You can see that we broke through this volume gap. We hit this level, and now little by little we're hitting really frothy overheated zones. In my opinion, guys, obviously not financial advice, it's time to expect a bit of a pullback on AVAX any moment. I feel like it did its job. I think from this bottom, it really did good, reclaiming some of the price action that it has lost in the bear market, and ultimately expecting AVAX to get out to all-time highs in price discovery. I think it's a little bit far-fetched in the short term. I think ultimately a corrective move is definitely due, and you can see that the momentum on the daily is definitely overbought with a double top type of scenario. Okay, so which means that it's very likely that we're seeing a bit of divergence, even if it's class C, which is exactly what we get right now. Higher highs on the price action, double top on the momentum. Class C bearish divergence. It's not a strong sign of divergence, but it's definitely there. We're definitely getting volume into this move to the upside still. Okay, so it's time to be a bit protective. What I mean by that is defensive. Essentially, if you bought the bottoms down here with the rest of us, what you should really be doing is trailing up a stop loss to ensure that you protect some of these gains, and taking a bit off the top, 10% after every impulsive move is a decent strategy. And ultimately, as we are overbought, as the MACD is very overextended in the bullish control zone, it's starting to become very likely that we get a bit of a pullback in the short term. Okay, guys, so prepare. Ultimately, it's about preparing for any possibility. And I do feel like a bit of a backtest to backtest the breakdown zone right around $20 would be absolutely bullish still to get that buy the dip opportunity and accumulate at slightly lower levels. Ultimately, if you have a position and you were able to scale in nice and early, you definitely don't want to exit your entire bag. You want to make sure that you keep some just in case, because ultimately, if you look at the weekly just entered the overbought condition. So it's very likely based on the weekly that we hang out into the zone, maybe impulse a little bit more. Maybe we don't, and I would expect a consolidation here, maybe a distribution phase right into this area where eventually we roll over and come down to lower levels. Okay, guys, so right now AVAX did its job. In my opinion, the impulse was beautiful. It already got its impulsive move, and the overall ecosystem is getting a lot of hype in the last little while, given the fact that it's embracing gaming, given the fact that the ecosystem is growing, given the fact that generally speaking, AVAX has a lot to offer as a layer one for its ecosystem. So I do appreciate its tech, and the fundamentals are there. The price action was here, but all of a sudden getting into a fresh long, it gets a bit risky at the current moment because you're buying tops. You're looking for a top, you're basically buying into impulsive moves, you're buying into green candles, you're buying into a moving train, and that is very risky. Okay, so be careful at this current levels. We do have previous highs right here, we do have this horizontal area of resistance, and then we start to get really frothy up here where we could get another rejection. Let's see how high we could go, but ultimately I think the majority of the move is already in here for AVAX. All right, guys, that was a quick update. Obviously, ensure that you join me live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. If you have any requests, any projects do you want me to cover, that is a great time and place to make those requests. Of course, you can follow me on those socials. The links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is a great community. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip. Thank you.